The entire crypto market could have a massive crash in 2 weeks, and in this video I'll explain exactly why. But I also have to explain why, regardless of what crashes happen in the middle, I am extremely confident that crypto is going to the moon and I'm going to hold on to it forever. To not waste anybody's time though, post-midterm elections dump. Obviously, this is coming up on November 8th, and we have to analyze what happened last midterm elections in 2018 and kind of compare it to what's happening in about 2 weeks to then see if we can potentially make a juicy crypto trade, or if we should prepare by potentially selling some of our crypto, or should just be prepared for an enormous amount of FUD. Remember guys, the crypto market right now is in an extreme amount of fear. This is mostly because all economic, or I should say all financial markets are in crazy amounts of fear right now. As you can read, Bloomberg Economics projects a 100% chance of a US recession over the next 12 months. At the end of the day though guys, what I believe to be true is that this crypto technology, which right now people are still fearful of, is like the internet back in 1995, where regardless of what happens to it on the short term, regardless of what happens in a dot-com crash eventually, or whatever, it will thrive, it will survive, and most importantly, everybody will use it. And this is actually the most important point of all. There could be something crazy happening in 2 weeks from now. All we have to look at though is how do we make profit from this specific event? Because if you think about it, over a couple month period, it's not really gonna matter. Even if there's a crazy recession in every other financial market, if XRP, for example, gets proper regulatory clarity, I think it'll still pump. Even though the dollar might be crashing, even though people might be going absolutely scared on crypto, I think it'll still pump. And the same thing applies for if Apple were to, for example, all of a sudden allow for massive crypto payment options in their phone, for example. It doesn't matter what the market is looking like. These things will be bullish. But most importantly, they're setting the standard for crypto for the next decades to come, which is the same as the internet has done. But let's cover this. So apparently the Bitcoin accumulation right now is looking stronger than that of 2018, but macro headwinds could spoil the party this time around. Let's see why. All right, now before I move on, I want to just quickly tell you guys this. There's 2 potential trades that we are making. That's the whole story of this video. And I just want to kind of save you some time to explain the trades and then go more into all the info. If Bitcoin breaks through roughly $18.4 thousand, we're opening a massive short position that'll most likely last us all the way towards $14 or even $12,000. Right now, if Bitcoin breaks through, this is scenario number 2, and actually gets some confirmation above, let's say $20,000, we might actually open up a crazy long position. This is on the short term because of this falling wedge pattern, and we're all going to do this over on BitGet, which is my exchange of choice right now, as apparently everybody in the world can use this exchange. People in the US apparently can even trade XRP on here, I've noticed. And again, I'm talking about leverage trading because that's, in my own opinion, the best way to make money in crypto trading. With the link down below, if you've signed up, go to this reward center. You can actually grab yourself a couple of very easy and free coupons here, which is just free money. But there's also a couple of additional bonuses that only people who used my link can get, a couple $100 just for free. So check it out with the link down below. But once you've signed up, make sure you check out this reward section, like I just said, to grab yourself a couple of rewards. It is juicy. And just so we're all in the clear right here, I've covered all of this on my 5-minute crypto channel. And the 2 major zones are again $18.4 and $20.4 thousand. Above 20.4 means crazy bullish, open longs. Below 18.4 means crazy bearish, open some shorts. And this story right here is mostly about that negative side because of backings that they'll explain throughout this video. Bitcoin investors might not think the US midterm, I should say, elections are a significant event. An eerie fractal from 2018 may provide a clue to what could happen before the year ends. And they're basically predicting a $12,000 to $14,000 Bitcoin after the midterms. Comparing Bitcoin's price action prior to the midterm elections of 2018 with those of 2022 shows a strikingly similar bear trend. For instance, Bitcoin price trended lower in 2018 while holding a horizontal level near $6,000 as support, only to break below it after the midterm election. We've actually for a long time covered the link between crypto and the elections or anything political basically, as there was a lot of money flowing around. This article states crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried is no longer looking to spend $1 billion on political donations, as a couple months ago he said he'd give north of $100 million in the next presidential election and had a soft ceiling of $1 billion to fund the US Democratic Party's 2024 presidential election campaign. He apparently already spent $40 million on some stuff this year, but I digress. To get back to it, The 2018 chart looks like this. You guys get an idea. We've had a downward sloping trend line with a consistent support, and then once the US midterm elections came around, we've had a crazy dump of roughly 50% in the coming weeks afterwards. This is what the Bitcoin chart is looking like right now. A consistent downwards trend with a consistent support. Potentially, we can have this similar pattern happen in again about 2 weeks from now. And here's what they explain. In 2022, the crypto has halfway mirrored this trend. Its price now awaits a close below the current horizontal support level of around $19,000. With the midterm election scheduled for November 8th, the said breakdown scenario could occur sooner or later as illustrated below. Now, it's interesting to see that we indeed had actually roughly the same amount of hits towards the trend line as well, with 2 major resistances and potentially 1 smaller one at the end. The 2022 has had 1 additional resistance here towards the end, and actually, as of this point, 1 less touch of the support. But I guess that could change in the next couple of days as well, which indeed makes it pretty damn similar. It's true. In this case, though, they're not expecting a 50% drop, but roughly 30% towards $12,000 to $14,000. Again, over the next couple of weeks, if this were to happen, like in 2018. Again, though, everything relates back to the stock market. The bearish prediction services as Bitcoin's correlation with US equities grows stronger in the wake of the Federal Reserve's monetary policies. Both markets have witnessed sharp drawdowns in the period of the US central bank's rate hikes in 2022. And historically, in 17 of the 19 midterms since 1946, the stock market has performed better in the 6 months after an election than the 6 months following it. 6 months after an election than in the 6 months following it. After and following it, I thought were the same thing. Maybe they mean the 6 months and then those 6 months again after, but it doesn't really matter. The story explains it quite clearly, but still, this is strange wording. Here you can see the average S&P 500 performance in the US midterm election years. Yeah, it's not looking too good. 2022 is a rough one. Yeah. That is primarily due to the market's expectations of higher government spending from a new Congress, notes Liz Ann Saunders, Charles Schwab's chief investment strategist, who further argues that 2022 could yield a different outcome though. An additional infusion of funds seems unlikely this year, given the government's historical levels of spending and stimulus in response to the pandemic, she explains, adding, the combination of high inflation, the war in Ukraine, and a lingering pandemic has already made this cycle. Unlike prior midterm years, with so many other forces at play in the market, I wouldn't put much weight in historical midterm year performance. Showing a picture of the US money supply remaining above $21 trillion. As a result, Bitcoin remains at risk of tailing US stocks lower with the $12,000 to $14,000 price range in view. And then our last section, optimistic Bitcoin price indicators. Again, honestly, we have a pretty bullish scenario on the short term. There's actually a falling wedge playing out for Bitcoin right now that I've covered on my second trading channel, which is called 5 Minute Crypto, by the way. I highly recommend you guys to go ahead and check that channel out as I cover a lot of cool things on there. But like I said earlier in the video, right now a falling wedge is playing out. If we get the confirmation, we could take this trade with a huge profit potential, taking a trade potentially all the way towards 25,000 US dollars. That could be absolutely massive. And again, if you've not checked it out, check out the link down below for BitGet, as it's the best exchange right now, and you can use it in every country around the world with no KYC, no VPN, no nothing. It's very easy. If there's any message saying you can't use it, I believe that if you just click it away, you're still able to use every single feature of the exchange. So go ahead and check it out with the link down below. I'm personally using it. Check it out. And if you go over to this section right here, by the way, the reward center, you can get yourself some juicy rewards up to $4,200. To get back to it, however, a section of the crypto market sees Bitcoin decoupling from traditional markets, suggesting that the crypto may not tail S&P 500 into a post-midterm election crash. At some point, the market will be controlled by those in the community, that is, long-term believers in Bitcoin and very unlikely to sell, and the growing global community which uses Bitcoin for commerce. Stephanie Ouellette, chief executive of Front Financial Inc., told Bloomberg. Ouellette, I like that name, statement came after the daily correlation coefficient between Bitcoin and the S&P 500 dropped to 0.08, which is basically no correlation at all if it's 0.08. 1 being a perfect correlation, -1 being a perfect inverse correlation, 0.08 meaning no correlation at all, the lowest in 4 months. Meanwhile, the number of unique addresses holding at least 1 Bitcoin reached a new record high on October 17th, contrast to trends witnessed during the 2018 bear market. This suggests investors have been accumulating Bitcoin at local price dips, which we can all confirm. You have been holding more and more and more. I've been holding more and more and more. People selling, I think, are wild. Only potentially for the very short term do I think selling might be smart. But even now, for the very short term, I will just hold through because I honestly believe entering is smarter than exiting the crypto market right now that we are at such low prices already. Even if Bitcoin were to go to $14,000, the downside is not so much, the upside is way, way, way better. So I just personally keep on buying. Now, the on-chain data suggests that those holders are optimistic the market will bounce back, keeping market fundamentals relatively healthy. And market analyst Wolf offered a similar outlook, citing Bitcoin's extremely oversold RSI and moving average convergence divergence, which is the MACD. Comparing current structure with 2018 before capitulation is, in my opinion, complete nonsense. Just by looking at the weekly RSI and MACD, differences are notable. In 2018, the RSI was floating at the mid-range of the 45s, which is, again, let's just say neutral. Right now, the RSI is, I think, at like, let's say 32 or something, which is slightly above the oversold category. And we've said before, if the Bitcoin price is below the 200 weekly moving average and also below the RSI of 30, it is just a guaranteed buy and make profit, in my opinion, not financial advice. But the RSI being lower basically says it's being sold more and more and more, which means, better chance of an upside, in my opinion. And he says in 2022, in comparison to this mid 45 range, it's hit its lowest level ever. And in comparison, these oscillators were in the neutral zone prior to the 2018 midterm election, meaning Bitcoin price had more room to decline. But right now we are already at lowest of lows, as again, right now we're at price levels we've seen, 5 years ago. Indeed, it is pretty low for the Bitcoin price. But let me know down below what you think about this situation and if you're going to be trading it or preparing for it in some way, shape, or form. If it does happen, I think we'd know pretty quickly, because that would mean that we see a little dump throughout the next couple of days. And honestly, like I said earlier, if you're preparing to trade this, all you have to kind of think about is, okay, the moment we break through in 2022, this major support area, like I've covered in my 5-minute crypto video, we just have to open a short position all the way towards 14,000 bucks, potentially taking a couple of profits along the way, moving our stop loss to entry pretty quickly, but that could be a juicy trade. And again, if you're looking for a place to trade, everybody can use BitGet, so go ahead and check that out. And that was it for today's video. See you guys later in another one.